So, hi, and I'm not going to talk about the 37 practices today. And the reason I wanted to do the BBC today rather than tomorrow, according to the normal schedule, is because tomorrow is a special day in the Buddhist calendar, and I wanted to talk about that before tomorrow happens so we can, hopefully be re-inspired, reinvigorated in our practice. So, probably most, if not all of you, know this story, but it doesn't hurt to hear it again. I think it's quite inspiring, and I was really happy to do research and learn more about tomorrow, what it commemorates. So tomorrow is one of 4 special days in the Buddhist calendar, at least according to the Tibetan tradition. These are days that commemorate special events in the life of the Buddha. And it's said that in terms of merit, any merit we accumulate on one of these 4 days is multiplied by 100 million times. Okay, so it's a great time to create more merit. So reciting 1 Om Mani Padme Hum tomorrow is like reciting 100 million Om Mani Padme Hums. But that doesn't mean you can do 1 Vajrasattva mantra and then clear out your commitment. It doesn't work like that. Just in terms of merit. Okay, so tomorrow is known as the Day of Miracles. I don't know if that's really a good translation. Chutrul Duchen in Tibetan. It's the day on which, actually there were 15 days, starting with the first day of the lunar month, which was Chinese New Year, Losar. So starting on that day and every day for 15 days in a row, the Buddha performed these miraculous feats. This is actually one of what are called the 6 kinds of super knowledges or clairvoyances, which result from samadhi. So with the development of samadhi, one is able to have these super knowledges. They include things like reading other people's minds and remembering past lives, your own and others, and so forth. So you don't have to be a Buddha to have these. That's important to know, because I think sometimes people meet a teacher and they feel like the teacher is able to read their mind, and then they think, wow, he must be enlightened just because of being able to read the mind. But that, you don't have to be a Buddha to have these abilities. You can be a very ordinary being and even still have a lot of afflictions, disturbing emotions. So that's important to know. But the Buddha did have these 6 kinds of super knowledge, and one of them is called that of magical emanation, which means you're able to emanate yourself in different forms or many different forms and so on. It's a bit like what they call shape-shifting, I think, in popular culture. So such a power does exist, and the Buddha had it. And so there's kind of a long story behind how the Buddha performed these, but I'll just abbreviate it. So there were 6 teachers who were teaching other doctrines, and it seems that they were jealous of the Buddha because sometimes some of their followers would meet the Buddha and listen to his teachings and then switch, become followers of the Buddha. So they weren't very happy about this, and they wanted to challenge the Buddha to a sort of competition in terms of psychic powers or, miracle powers, to see who could do better. So they went to King Bimbisara, who is a follower of the Buddha, and asked the king to, set up this kind of competition. And he thought it was kind of ridiculous. The Buddha would far outdo these guys. But anyway, he asked the Buddha, and the Buddha did agree to do this. But he didn't do it immediately. He sort of delayed and waited for the right time and the right place and so on. So finally, it happened. And it happened in Sravasti, where the place where these miracles took place was in Sravasti over a period of 15 days in the springtime. So I'll just read one of these events, one of these displays. The first day, what happened on the very first day, just to give you an idea. So on the first day of spring, Buddha went to the field that had been prepared for him and sat upon the lion throne before the multitude. One of the kings, there were lots of people, lots of kings around. One of the kings made offerings, and after this, the Buddha took a toothpick and placed it in the ground. It grew at once into a marvelous tree. On its branches, which extended for kilometers, grew beautiful leaves, flowers, fruit, and jewels of every kind. The multicolored light emanating from the jewels was as brilliant as the light of the sun and moon combined. When the branches of the tree rustled in the wind, the sounds of the teaching were heard. Then Buddha himself spoke to the multitude. Many of the people listening progressed greatly. Some attained arhatship, and millions ripened the seeds for rebirth in the high states of humans or gods. And so it continues like that every day. Some amazing thing happened. And what I like about this story is that it wasn't just like, a beautiful fireworks display in the sky and everybody goes ooh and ah and they feel happy and excited, but there's no beneficial changes in their mind. So with each of these miracles or miraculous displays, the Buddha gave teachings, and the people listened to the teachings and probably had a lot of faith because of what he'd been able to show. And then their mind progressed. They gained realization, some even attained liberation. So that makes it really, really beautiful, really significant. Okay, let's jump to the last day, which is tomorrow. So on the 15th and final day of the spring celebration, King Bimbisara brought gifts to the Buddha. Buddha then told King Bimbisara to bring vessels for food, and the vessels were miraculously filled with foods of 100 different tastes. When the assembly ate them, their bodies and minds were completely satisfied. Buddha asked them, "Why is there such immeasurable misery in the world?" By his blessing, even the 18 kinds of demons realized that their misery was caused by deeds they had done themselves. They felt great faith in Buddha. As on all the previous days, those assembled attained great advancement. Some increased their Bodhi mind, some attained arhatship, some attained the stage of non-returning. Many attained the seeds of rebirth as humans or gods, and countless others increased their virtue. So it's clear that by these displays of miraculous feats, the Buddha, wasn't just showing off what he could do, but he was benefiting many, many, many people. So I find that quite inspiring, and that's something we could remember tomorrow when doing our virtuous actions. Also, tomorrow, I found out from Venerable Children that she found out from one of the Theravada nuns that tomorrow is also the anniversary of the parinirvana of Mahaprajapati Gotami, who was the stepmother of the Buddha and also his aunt, and she's actually the one who raised him because his own mother died when he was 7 days old. So after that, he was raised by Mahaprajapati, and she became the first Buddhist nun. As you know, Gotami House is named after her. So that's really significant for us, those of us who are nuns, but even those who are not nuns, we can rejoice that through her, kindness, we have an order of nuns that we are able to join and be part of and create a lot of virtue. And she became an arhat, quite soon, I think, after, yeah, just after getting ordained, Buddha gave her something to meditate on, and through that she was able to become an arhat. And it seems that she lived to the age of 120. Wow. So it says, at the ripe old age of 120, Pajapati knew that her time of death was near. Though it was against monastic regulations that a sick nun be visited by any monk, Prajapati requested that her son come to her, and by going, the Buddha in effect changed the rule. When she died, miracles occurred both then and at her cremation, which later were said to have been equaled only by those which took place at the Buddha's death. So she was clearly a remarkable person. So we could also keep that in mind tomorrow. And you may feel kind of maxed out with what you're already doing and unable to do more virtuous actions, which is fine. You know, you're already doing a lot. So if you do have the time and energy to do additional things, that's great. But otherwise, you know, just doing what you're already doing every day. And tomorrow many of us, or maybe most of us, will be taking the 8 Mahayana precepts. So that's a really amazing, wonderful thing, creating a huge amount of merit. And then all the practices you're doing, Vajrasattva or whatever other practices, meditations that you're doing, plus offering service. You know, there's lots of work to do around the place. So cooking, cleaning, office work, feeding turkeys and deer and so forth. So these are also positive actions. We can transform them into part of our practice and create virtue. So the main thing is try to do everything we do with the bodhicitta motivation. Really try to have the sincere wish to become like the Buddha and like Mahaprajapati and all the other great beings who have come before us, and reach the state of enlightenment to help all living beings. And also rejoicing. That's always a wonderful thing to do. Even if you may feel your own ability to do things is limited for health reasons or whatever, rejoicing in what we are doing, and also rejoicing in all the other wonderful things that others are doing. This is a way of creating additional merit and also making our mind really happy and positive, and really making the day beneficial and meaningful.